someone new.
So do you think, you know, the US is going to see a Tunisian fruit seller moment, or is it more kind of a general malaise, a lowering of living standards, as you said, a collapse in the economy? Is it going to be
Something is going to break. There are a lot of bad things about to happen. I'll give you one simple example. There is a huge fracking bubble in Wall Street and the City of London. A great many fracking wells have been dug. They're being sold on the derivatives marketplace, and what people don't realize is that fracking is on and off, on or off. It's not a smooth decline in production the way natural gas and oil is. Fracking, you get it or you don't. And so what's going to happen here is all of a sudden the City of London and Wall Street, the people who are buying these things are going to realize that they've been sold a bill of goods with fracking wells that will not produce, that will run out. And that could set off a new financial panic. You combine that with Ebola, you combine that with 1,000 wells going dry across California and Texas as Arizona, and you're really beginning to see what could become a perfect storm. Probably not before the elections in November, but possibly. We are, in my 62 years, the United States of America is as low as I have ever seen it get in every possible respect.
And in terms of this perfect storm that you just mentioned, I wrote an article last week which was based on a series of essays in the CFR's publication Foreign Affairs. And basically they acknowledge that this populist uprising, these preconditions for revolution, both on the right and the left, with the Tea Party, with the Occupy movement and the anti-EU movement in Europe, were coalescing. There you see the article, Establishment Desperate to Co-opt Populist Uprising. So they acknowledge that there's this American distemper growing, as you have documented. But in their own words, they said, quote, that they've got to co-opt this uprising and kind of squirrel it away into issues of little or no significance so as to quell the American distemper. I mean, how do you think they're going to try? Because, of course, we know to a certain extent with the Arab Spring, with some of the other uprisings, there were attempts to co-opt them by the establishment. Do you see a similar process occurring in the United States and throughout Europe?
You've raised what for me is the single most important and interesting possibility in this century. I mean, you've really brought up something that we could talk about for hours. As you know, as well as anyone, during the student uprisings in the 1960s, the CIA funded a wide variety of student movements, and the whole idea was to let 1,000 flowers bloom so they wouldn't talk to each other. And that has been the strategy of the foundations as well. There's an article out about the NGOization of everything, which basically means fragment them all. Micah Sifry has just published this book, which is an absolutely, utterly brilliant book that is not available on Amazon. I think the publisher is to be castigated for that. It's one of the single most important books I've read in the last few years, and what it says is that all of the nonprofit organizations, from eco-villages to intentional communities to energy and education and health foundations, they're all fragmented. They all want to use their hashtag. They refuse to actually share information, have a common strategy, and come out. So the foundations have succeeded. Now let me give you what I think is the $64 trillion bonanza. The elites have broken ranks. Lady Rothschild in London has sponsored a conference on inclusive capitalism. The Mars family has just sponsored a journal issue of the Bowery called Mutuality Economics. And there are a number of billionaires on the West Coast, what I call the black sheep billionaires, and I understand there's some black sheep billionaires in Europe as well, that are talking about redemptive capitalism. What this boils down to is the elites are now divided. I would say roughly 3/4 of the elites still think that they can just trash everybody and fragment everybody and continue business as usual for the next decade. That's not going to happen. The smarter elites, the elites that understand that the pitchforks are there and that there aren't enough guns to hold back everybody, those elites, that small handful of elites, is opening the possibility for people like me to be heard. And I thank you for the exposure on the Alex Jones Show, because I believe that we can preserve, protect, and not attack the existing concentrated wealth as long as the elites will fund.
Okay, we'll be back after the break. Robert David Steele, stay tuned, your call's coming up.
Home invasions are on the rise. It takes less than 10 seconds to kick in a door. 10 seconds is not enough time to protect your family. And what would happen if you're not home? Easy Armor is the ultimate security solution. 85% of break-ins are through a door. Protect your home now with Easy Armor. Go to invasionstopper.com to get real security for under $70. That's invasionstopper.com. Easy Armor. Your security is our only business.
Next to water and food, you need a safe, storable fuel supply for your preparedness needs. Spare fuel is the answer. Spare fuel can be used in any gas-powered vehicle or generator. Spare fuel is perfect for any unforeseen out-of-gas emergencies. Unlike gasoline, spare fuel is safe to store with your other supplies, and it can be stored for many years. Go to GetSpareFuel.com for special pricing. That's GetSpareFuel.com.
Hi folks, Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his two-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed, and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage, or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Adam Miller here with Midas Resources. Today, October 6, 2014, gold opened at $1196.20. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $1240.33, $620.16 for a half ounce, or $310.08 for a quarter ounce. That's $1240.33, $620.16, and $310.08.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase. And there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
Just inside the doorway. Use it only in emergency.
We're back live on the Alex Jones Show this Tuesday, October 7th edition, with me, Paul Joseph Watson, talking to Robert David Steele. The website is phi-beta-iota.net. Former CIA case officer who, of course, wrote the excellent book, which I read recently, The Open Source Everything Manifesto. Robert, you got cut off just on the break there. We were talking about how the elite plan to, quote, co-opt this populist uprising or these preconditions for revolution. Just finish your point on that.
Oh, well, thank you, because what I was trying to stress was that the elite have broken ranks. Lady Rothschild's in London has sponsored a conference on inclusive capitalism. The Mars family, which has been an honest, wealthy family for a very long time, has sponsored a journal issue on mutuality economics, which means everybody needs to get ahead. And finally, what I call the black sheep billionaires on the West Coast and also in Europe are talking about redemptive capitalism. So I believe there's a way forward in which we can get a segment of the elite to sponsor open source everything, to sponsor a unification of all of us under an umbrella strategy to create infinite wealth for the 5 billion poor. It'll be a different kind of, it won't even be capitalism. It'll be focused on land and labor. So I actually feel very positive. I think that we're moving toward a perfect storm, and out of that perfect storm will come an entire new economy, and I'm tentatively adopting the Mars family concept of mutuality economics.
And in your book, I believe, when you talk about the 5 billion poor, this is a process of, educating them, arming them with cell phones, with the internet, with information. And I believe you make the point that the elite simply won't be able to cope with the tide of 5 billion more awake, informed individuals. Is that the case?
Well, yes, and Václav Havel has written an excellent book called Power of the Powerless, and Howard Zinn, of course, wrote Power Government Cannot Suppress. 5 billion poor people right now are being blocked from creating infinite wealth because the vestiges of capitalism, particularly in the telecommunications and computing arena, they're like a quagmire. They're like a big mud tar pit into which the dinosaurs will sink. So Open Base Transceiver Station, which is open free cell phones, is one of the first steps toward unleashing the 5 billion poor. And there's some wonderful work being done on this in Mexico and other places. And there are other opens that will essentially allow the 5 billion poor to take their time-energy equation and turn it into infinite wealth. This I am absolutely certain of.
I'm going to take your calls for Robert David Steele at 1-800-259-9231 after the break. But his book, The Open Source Everything Manifesto. Robert, let's just break that down. What is the Open Source Manifesto? From the blurb, it's the transition from top-down secret command and control to a world of bottom-up consensual collective decision-making as a means to solve the major crises facing our world today. So how does this top-down system of control currently operate, and how can we begin to turn it around?
Well, it operates because we've allowed it to operate. We've allowed the fencing of the commons, the criminalization of private behavior. We've allowed governments to basically dictate what we should do and how we are educated and so forth. What is happening now is that states are failing in a big way, and I certainly include the United States and the United Kingdom as states of questionable viability. Localization is coming up. In New York, to take an example, fracking is forbidden by most of the towns and villages across the entire state of New York. And this is driving the fracking industry, which is a criminal industry, crazy. What I see is an end of top-down, an end of secrecy, and a rise of local face-to-face politics and local face-to-face economics in which money is pulled out of the remote banking system. In fact, I would say absentee banks, absentee landlords, and absentee government are going to be on the trash heap of history.
And just bring us the origins of this. This was a 1992 conference where you first introduced these ideas, and I believe you got a lot of pushback from the CIA. Tell us about that.
Well, it's good of you to actually look at the history. I left the CIA to create the Marine Corps Intelligence Center, and I paid $20 million for my analysts to have access to all of the secrets, and I had a small PC over in a corner. And to my astonishment, they started lining up for the PC, and when I asked them why, they said, because there's nothing in the secret databases about Somalia, Haiti, Burundi, and all these other places. So that's when I realized that the U.S. government was totally ignorant and had not gotten a grip on all of the relevant information around the world. Since then, I've seen what Richard Stallman and others have done, Linus Torvalds have done with open source software and open hardware. I was one of the 4,000 participants in Obama's first open government initiative.
And we'll get more into that after the break with Robert David Steele taking your calls. It's the Alex Jones Show live, 1-800-259-9231.